Party with Miley Cyrus there at 105.7 Light FM. Good morning, I'm Dave. We're at 8:41 now. Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation. Do that, please. And that tax or legal advisor ought to be Phillip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring, who joins us this morning to talk about, dueling rubber chicken speeches yesterday. Would that be a fair description, Phillip?
I think so, Dave. It's on both extremes. We had people speaking yesterday, and it looks like to me that the market's probably decided to let's take some of our profits and rest for a little while.
Yeah, I kind of had about the same reaction to it. I mean, yeah, we sold off after Jay Powell used his Janet Yellen voice and said, we think stocks are overvalued, and the market promptly sold a little bit to accommodate the old dude. But at the same time, I mean, the Dow was only down 89 points. That's 0.19%. S&P was down by a little over a half, down about 37. And NASDAQ was down 0.95%, down 216. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but really in today's days of 1% swings every single day, that looked more like a profit-taking day than it did a sell-off to me, didn't it, you?
It did. And look at the Russell 2000. It really didn't participate much. It was down 1/4 point. So, I think maybe they like the idea that interest rates are going down with the Russell 2000. That's going to help them significantly.
Absolutely. I'm kind of starting to look at the Russell 2000 as being my indication as to whether tech is driving us up or everything else is. Recognize in the Dow 30, you got like 4 of the Magnificent Seven. S&P 500 capitalization is about 60-odd% tech, and NASDAQ is driven by tech because of the way it's constructed. Really, the Russell is the only index we've got to play with that isn't dominated by the mega cap tech industry these days. So if you want to find the canary in the coal mine, the Russell is really starting to become a little bit more of an important index to watch, isn't it?
It is for a broader view, because you're right. It has much more diversification across industries than the Dow or actually any of the other 3 indexes for that matter.
Absolutely. So I found it kind of fascinating. We were making fun of the dueling rubber chickens. Jay Powell, when we first got on the phone before we went off the air, I said he put on his Janet Yellen mask, and your reaction was it sounded more like Galen Greenspan's famous phrase, irrational exuberance. But either way, Powell was definitely trying to tamp down enthusiasm, wasn't he?
He really is, Dave. He is, and I think he's on spot. I mean, I really do. When we're talking about these markets just continue to go up, I just don't know that there is a fundamental basis for the continued rising stock prices when it comes to looking at earnings per share and some of those fundamental things. Now, I hope I'm wrong someday, but we need some, when's the last time we really took a breath and really saw a correction come into play? Yeah, we did when Trump first talked about, Independence Day, when we're going to, tariff everybody. But that was a really quick drop and back up. So I don't know that I really count that one.
Yeah, but just those numbers that we dug up yesterday morning, we were talking about, just in order to get back to normal multiples, even if the stocks don't keep going up. I mean, an S&P company on balance over the next year and a half or so going to have to increase its price, it's going to increase its earnings by like 28% in order to just get back down to the normal 20-to-1 price earnings ratio we're used to seeing on the Standard & Poor's 500. Overpriced? Okay, fine. I'm happy to make the argument both ways, but we're definitely getting up into premium multiples right now that are pretty hard to support, and they get us to the point where one little hiccup can cause a major panic.
Yeah, and what they talk about is what the S&P needs to do over the next 2 years to bring those numbers in line what they don't talk about, Dave, is how much do they have to fall in price to make the numbers, make sense in terms of the earnings per share forward looking. Nobody wants to talk about let's go backwards to get those numbers right. They all want to talk about going forward and increasing in value to make those numbers come out right.
Well, your point's well taken. I mean, you can go one of two directions in order to make that matchup happen, where you got a normal price earnings ratio on an index, and I can't think of anything I like less than seeing the S&P fall by like 25% in order to get back down to normal multiples. So let's just cheer for the increase in earnings, shall we?
Hey, I'm right with you, buddy.
Gotcha. It's a relatively quiet day when the lead story on all of my tip sheets is a two-way story. Number one, Jimmy Kimmel's back on network TV, and Disney Plus raised their subscription prices for the fourth year in a row. I mean, it's relatively quiet. Kimmel was reasonably tactful last night on the TV, so it became a non-news event. And then Disney Plus announced that they're raising their prices for the fourth year in a row. I found that kind of amusing. The only economic news that we've got to start the morning out is kind of interesting. Mortgage applications. And I'd bet yesterday we were going to have a spate of refi applications come in last week. Actually, no. The number of mortgage applications that went in was up 0.6%, but the refis were only up by 1%. That kind of makes me think, somebody's sitting out there and saying, boy, I did that refinance about 2 weeks too early. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's the case. And I think probably people that are on the fence about refinancing are thinking, they're listening to the talking heads that are saying, hey, look, we probably have a couple more interest rate cuts between now and the end of the year. So why would you want to refinance now if interest rates are going to be 0.5% lower by the end of the year? I mean,
that's true.
You think about it.
If you're listening to Mirren and his partner on the rubber chicken circuit yesterday, we're going to have 1.5% federal interest rates at the end of the year. Sure.
I don't see that happening, but yeah.
Exactly why I'm saying sure. By the way, the volume of mortgage applications is year over year up about 42% over last year. So I won't say that indicates a recovery, but we're definitely doing a lot more mortgage application work than we did the prior year. Other than that, we got some housing information coming up that gets released about 10 o'clock this morning, building permits and housing starts and the like. That could be a market mover later on today. They aren't expecting any grandiose improvement, but they are expecting some green movement on both new home sales and on building permits over a disastrous report last time.
Yeah, they're expecting really, I'm looking at the numbers and it looks to me like new home sales that come out later today are expected to be about what they were last month. So it will be interesting to see what the actual number comes out to at 10 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, and the building permits, last time we reported last month, we had a 0.6% decline in, let's see here. Yeah, we had 0.6% decline in new home sales month over month. They're now expecting at the very least to go up by 0.5%. That at the very least is an improvement over what we had, because it was kind of a market shock when we actually had a negative figure last month.
Yeah, it was. So it'd be interesting to see if we can build back up this month.
Absolutely. So. Talking about the individual reports, one of the firms that we don't hear much in the tech business, but what are they up? Something like 91% this year. They're the less exciting AI beneficiary because they make the support chips on the big servers. How did Micron do with their quarterly report?
So Micron had a good quarter. I don't know. I don't see the exact numbers, but I know that they did have better than expected numbers for their quarterly report. And then I guess the big thing is they gave some upbeat guidance for the current quarter. So that's really good. And it also points out, like you said, they're up 90-something% year to date. And this article was talking about how they've almost doubled so far in 2025. Not really helping them this morning, I guess, because you think, well, geez, they're up. They're low. Their 52-week low was $61.54. They're trading at 165 right now. So a pretty big jump over that time period. So they're actually trading down about 0.5% this morning.
Doggone lost money on that one for the day, right? Any other indications you got?
That's really it.
All righty.
We're getting towards the end of the quarter here. And so most everybody has reported that's going to report. And we wait until next week when we start to get some new stuff coming in. Though I will say, Dave, we do have some numbers still coming in this week as far as GDP comes in tomorrow, expected to stay at 3.3%. And then of course on Friday we get the PCE number and personal income and personal spending. So Friday might be a big day.
Yeah, a lot of macro news to fill in the process. About the only name that I recognized on the agenda today that's yet to report today is going to be Cintas, the big uniform and linen supplier, and that's kind of interesting because that's business sundries that they work in, so it might give us a little bit of an indication about business, and we'll probably have something on that tomorrow morning. Resetting the table is kind of an off day. You and I both thought it was profit-taking more than anything else yesterday. 45 minutes before we open, what are we looking at today?
They can give us oh, I'm sorry. I'm about to go to the wrong place. Aren't I? I'm sorry. I'm really getting confused here. So let's see here. What I got to click the right box here. So we got some green ink right now, Dave. The Dow's up about 15/100ths. The S&P 500 is up almost 0.2. The Nasdaq 100 is up 0.2. Russell 2000 is up about 0.1%. On the other side, we see silver falling off its highs, down 0.5% to $44.37 an ounce. Gold's down about 0.33% to $3,802. Crude oil, Dave, going the wrong direction here the last couple of days, up another 1.3% this morning to $64.25.
That's got to be a reflection of expectations of better business times to come because we've got an oil glut in the world right now. Looking across the ponds, the Asian rim, it was just kind of a reverse of yesterday. Yesterday, the Chinese markets were off by a bit. Everybody else was up. This morning, everybody's down by a little bit, except for the mainland Chinese markets that were up by over a full percent at the close. Over in Europe, we've got call it lackluster in the process. France is kind of dragging things down a little bit by having a pretty bad day. They're down by 0.2%. Drags the average European index down by just a little under 0.25% to the bad side halfway through the European trading day. Somebody want to make their retirement plans from dreams into plans. That takes an expert pair of eyes. How do I find you to get your eyes on my retirement?
Dave, then give us a call 863-382-0037. Hey, before we go, though, I do want to mention two things. I want to talk about it is September. It is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. And so I want to remind people again, men especially, folks, don't rely just on a PSA. Go get a real old-fashioned exam. The one does some, the other does others. So it takes both to determine if you need to be followed up with. And then secondly, Dave, I want to put this on people's calendars. Our Statler Financial Shred Day is coming up on October 25th, a month away. So let's get that on the calendars. And then lastly, check out the Statler Financial Radio Show this weekend, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m. and 95.3 FM.
All righty. And you and me together again tomorrow morning about the same time here to find out what's going on with the big numbers coming out on the macro front. Have a good day, my friend. I will catch you then, all right?
All right, babe. Take care.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler.
Folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Have a great day. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.